station ground resistance. Then we're going to talk about table 52. So the maximum permissible resistance of the station ground electrode, here I'll just highlight that. The maximum permissible resistance of the station ground electrode shall be determined by the maximum available ground fault current injected into the ground by the station ground electrode, or by the maximum fault current of the station, and the ground resistance shall be such that under all soil conditions that exist in practice, example wet, dry, frozen, the maximum ground fault current condition shall limit the potential rise of all parts of the station to how many volts? How many volts?
5,000.
Yeah. For you guys doing the A, tattoo that in your head. 5,000 volts. Well, don't tattoo it, but just know it. Okay. In addition to the requirements of Subrule 1, the touch and step at the edge within and around the station grounding electrode, including all areas in which the metallic structures electrically connected to the station are to be found, shall not exceed the values of table 52. Now, where do you manage to get the available fault currents? Who gives them to you?
Engineer. Supply authority.
Where does the engineer get them from?
Supply authority.
An engineer at the supply authority. There you go. So you're right in both cases. So, yeah, you have to get the available fault current from the gun thing cut out on me again. So you got to get the calculation from the utility, and then you have to do resistance tests. And this table is not as bad as what you think it is. But I do have to laugh at this. These values are based on the IEEE 80 standard for a 50 kilogram person, and I'm definitely more than 50 kg. So you have to, before you energize your service, you have to provide this touch and step voltage report. And a couple things you have to keep in mind is, are you going to have a fault duration of half a second or a fault duration of 1 second? Because your faults are, available fault current is going to dramatically change. You then have to look at what condition you have. So whether it's organic soil, moist earth, crushed stone, asphalt, or bedrock. And if we were using, let's say 150 millimeters, let me highlight. What would our touch and step voltages be? Duration of half a second. What do you think? Am I highlighting it? Your step voltage could not be any greater than 2458 volts, and your touch voltage could not be greater than 738 volts. Who provides those reports for you? A third-party testing company. So before you energize the piece of high voltage equipment, hey, it's almost noon. Before you highlight a piece of, energize a piece of high voltage equipment, you got to get your touch and step report done, and it has to be better than these readings. So when you see just going to highlight this. So when you've got a step voltage, what that means is you will have a voltage between your 2 feet of less than 2400 volts, and a touch voltage, so you're touching the equipment to ground, of something less than 738 volts. Do you know what we call that report that you sent to the inspector afterwards? It's called a commissioning report. We want to verify that your meter exceed these requirements. Any questions? Okay. Then before we go for lunch,